Is it hanging, Paula?
Yes, it is hanging.
Now
But
I think
yes.
yeah.
Yes, we are live now.
Okay. Do you want to make me as the host? Remain as host, and then I'll look at Facebook. You can remain as host, and then I'll look at Facebook.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I have given permission for share screen to everybody if required, but though we are not using any presentation here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes, we can start.
Okay. So welcome everybody, and a huge thank you to all the panel. Before I introduce you, I just would like to thank you because you're from different parts of the world and different time zones and stuff like that. So thank you all for agreeing readily to be a part of this panel discussion, and welcome to all as well. So basically the topic here is of interest for young optometrists who are seeking careers outside India. And we have an esteemed panel from different continents, I can say, and they have agreed willingly to share their experiences. So let me introduce the panel today. Dr. Vinod is from University of New South Wales, and he's a professor in contact lenses, completed his PhD. His area of interest is orthokeratology, if I'm right. Yeah, Vinod? Yes. So Vinod is from University of New South Wales, Australia. I am just going in the order where you people are faced in my screen. So in that particular order I'm going. Next is Neeraj. I think Neeraj is known to many of the optometrists back in India. He's been a role model for many, I can say, during his time when he was in India, head of professional services in Bosch & Lomb. Then he moved over to Dubai to be part of a huge chain called Rivoli until recently. So Neeraj is from Middle East, would share his Middle East experiences. Sure. Then I have Amitabh Bhatta, who's from USA. He did his PhD from University of Houston. His area of interest is to do with retinal imaging and using of adaptive optics for retinal imaging. And then we have Leo, who's done his master's from University of Glasgow in UK.
I can't hear Lakshmi.
Yeah, I think streaming.
Okay.
Oh.
Otherwise, Paula can proceed.
I think there's a connectivity issue at her place, maybe.
So would you want to do the introduction and then proceed?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So Dr. Amitabh's introduction was done. Yeah. Okay. Leo, I am not sure.
There is a correction. It's at Glasgow Caledonian University.
Yes. So welcome, Leo. And then I have Tanuja ma'am. Tanuja ma'am is currently into private practice. She is from Botswana. And we have Kaneka Di. I call her Di. In Bengali, we actually, elder sisters, we call Didi. So that is how that connection comes from. So she was in Bahrain for quite some time, and now she is back to India. So she is here to share her experience of when she was in Bahrain. So just a minute.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, because of the rain, the internet.
Yeah.
So yes, back
Okay.
to
He completed.
Yes, ma'am. I just took over and introduced. Okay. So okay. So good evening, everybody. I will moderate the first half of the session. So yeah, I was particularly, interested in having this kind of a panel, and I insisted, Lakshmi ma'am, that because 2 weeks back we first took this initiative of going Facebook Live, and we wanted to do something which is on different topics, which is to all the fraternity, and that is how this Facebook Live came to came to our mind, and this is our second session, and I insisted. Lakshmi ma'am, that why don't we have such a panel, which is, it is going to be really informative to hear from you on different aspects. So the first question which I would like to raise is to Dr. Vinod and Dr. Amitabha, that you are from the academics, and I like for the viewers, obviously, I would want to know that what is the process? Like your study was from India, Dr. Vinod. I would like you to say first. You have completed from here, and then you proceeded abroad, and then you have made your career there. So, what are the procedures? What are the requirements if a student really wants to pursue a career abroad? And you are currently practicing in Australia, and Dr. Amitabha is in US. So, if you can share your experiences.
Okay, so I'm here in Sydney at University of New South Wales. I'm working as a lecturer. That is the academic part of my life. The other side is I'm also practicing here in University Optometric Clinic. So that I see these are the two main wings where somebody from India can come here and to let's talk about the academic part of it first. So, which is the PhD. The PhD, of course, I came here for my PhD, and then after completion of my PhD, I was absorbed into academic life here. So I started teaching here. So I think the minimum requirement for you to be able to teach in a university level is a PhD. So I think that's where you set, and of course, you have good publication list, and you've got a lot of experience, and past teaching, everything will help. And fortunately, I had all of it, and then that's why I was easily absorbed into the university life here. And the second part is being able to practice as an optometrist. So even though you have done a PhD, that does not mean that you will be able to practice here. So you should still clear board exams, and then get registered by the registration body, and then you will be qualified enough to practice here. And that for that you have to go through the exams, and I can again touch upon that if you want to ask in more detail, Paula. So after finishing the exams, and then you'll have to do a 1-year therapeutics course before you can start practicing in Australia. So that is the practitioner side of me. So I've done PhD, and I'm teaching here. At the same time, I have completed all the exams and therapeutics, and then now I'm able to practice here. So that's the other stream. So yeah, if you have anybody has any kind of questions related to either of these, I'm happy to answer further.
All right. Okay. Vinod, regarding the professional part, we will come back in the later section. So sure. I would pass on to Dr. Amitabha. Dr. Amitabha.
Hi, everyone. So my journey is a little bit different from Vinod, but because I am not in currently practicing as an optometrist, but mine is purely academical. So I'll share my story. So I graduated from West Bengal University of Technology, and after that I worked briefly in Shankar Netchala as an optometrist, and also at Lawrence and Mayo for some time. And then I was interested and eager to pursue higher education, so I applied to various US universities. Here, I would like to highlight something which I never knew at that time when I was going through the process, is that if you are interested in something like, let's say, optics or psychophysics or eye movement, it's not necessary that you have to apply to an optometry school for a graduate study for like master's or PhD. You can choose other universities which has department who does research in this, like psychology department or just of physics department. So this is a very the information which is something that I learned as I worked upon my career, but I think it's a very important information the students should know. You are not restricted to apply for research related degrees in universities which only have optometry schools or colleges. You can apply to any university, and in US it's very flexible that they accept students from various different backgrounds, and they like this diversity. I think that's a very important aspect. So anyway, coming back to my story is that, so I applied for a few different universities and got accepted in a couple of them, and I moved to US and pursued my PhD. So in US, you can directly apply to a PhD if you have 4 years of undergraduate or what we call bachelor's level degree. Even though you are not considered as a PhD candidate, but you have to pass the qualifiers, but you can directly apply to the program, either to a master's program or a PhD program directly. It depends on the university regulations. So, I mean, I can go into details of, essentially in US, you need 2 things to apply to universities, 3 things. I mean, of course, you have to pass out your, your 4 years of optometry school or education, and then you need a GRE exam score, which is an aptitude test and an English test. At that time when I was applying, it was TOEFL, but I believe now they also accept IELTS in some of the US universities as well. So yeah, so I went to University of Houston, and my PhD was related to high resolution retina and optic nerve imaging. And from there, I graduated, and then I moved on to do a postdoctoral research fellowship in University of Miami Bascom Palmer Eye Institute. That was more on the clinical research on glaucoma patients. And from there on, I currently work for pharmaceutical companies in their medical affairs division called Hoffman Roche in United States. So they manufacture retinal drugs. So my role is to work on clinical trials for the drug, new drugs that are in the pipeline or that are being tested in the human, and also to support the medical information sharing with physicians who are working with us in recruiting patients and in the clinical trials. So that's in very high level overview of my career journey. I mean, I can obviously go into details and also talk about the clinical pathway in which many people enters, after coming to US, they do their OD and, start working as an optometrist. But I mean, we can talk about it in a bit, I guess.
So doctor, you are more into the wet trial section that way.
What do you mean by wet trials? Like,
I mean the clinical trial. So there are 2 types of trials, a dry and wet. So you are more into the wet trials, if I'm correct.
Well, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by wet trials, but our company manufactures retinal medication like, like anti-VEGF, anti-vascular endothelial growth factors, which are used in macular degenerations and also in diabetic retinopathies. So those trials are those kind of drugs are the drugs that I get to involved with while in the development phase.
Okay, great. So
development, I mean by clinical trial when it is tested in human, not in the animal phase, which is the preclinical stage before it enters the human clinical trial.
Okay, great. So regarding the, as I said earlier, the professional, the exams and all will come a little bit later. Now, moving on to a little different aspect, we have Neeraj sir and we have Kanyaka. So you both were into corporates, I guess.
Yes.
Yes. So Neeraj sir, if you can just give us an overview of how you moved. Like, obviously, we all know that you were in Bausch & Lomb and then you moved to Rivoli. And then what was your role there? And then if someone from India wants to, go out, there are a lot of optometrists who are going. but I would like that you give an overview of exactly what is the process, what examinations they have to pass, how optometry is there, the status there, and then Kanyakadi, if you can add.
Okay, thanks, Paula. I'll just add by saying the reason why I pursued my career in corporate primarily was because I was fascinated with corporate people. So I didn't deviate. In my final year, I was offered a job in Bosch & Lomb if I was interested, and that was a dream come true. So I ventured for it. Spent my wonderful 14 years with the organization. So I realized that yes, corporate mindset is a bit different from a clinical mindset. It's all about what you want to pursue as a career. And yes, what I realized was that when I got into corporate, in most of the organizations, the positions which generally, at least at that time, were given were in professional services, which was as a product consultant or as an optometrist. However, things have dramatically changed. I now see a lot of optometrists playing a very active role in the sales aspect or the commercial aspect of it. And the good part is that if you have a commercial bent of mind, then the technical and the commercial part come together, can make you a very strategic business contributor to any organization. And that what I feel is a very key for optometrists to realize if they want to pursue a career in corporates. However, when I moved to UAE almost 4 years back, I realized that yes, definitely UAE has a lot of opportunities for optometrists. While many of us believe that the opportunities get limited to only working as an optometrist at the store level. But what I want to highlight is the fact that if you have this combination of techno-commercial, then sky is the limit. You actually can get into a role of being a cluster optometrist, for example. You can be not just a product trainer, but you can actually be a business manager. You can rise to the level of being a director or even a vice president of that optical vertical. So it's all about what your zeal is. And if you are serious about an optical or a career in optical field, especially in the corporate arena, I would say that you actually can rise up the ladder. So it's not just that you need to get confined to working in an optical shop itself. Yes, with regards to anybody who is keen on coming to Middle East and UAE in specific, yes, the gentleman has to have an optometry degree. In fact, most of the optical setups or even ophthalmic setups here prefer a degree which is 4 years. Then one of the mandatory requirements is that you need to have 2 years of experience with you. So if you have that criteria, of course, you would have done your optometry from a recognized university, because there are those criteria also which the Ministry of Health here looks into. So you should be an optometrist, preferably with a 4 years degree, 2 years experience with, of course, a university which is recognized. And you come here with, of course, the good part is that they recognize the certification has to be done by bodies like OCI. So it is mandatory that an optometrist has to be a member of OCI when he applies here. The ministry does the background check of the candidate, and one can join here. After he joins in, he has to give an examination of that particular ministry. So like in UAE, a typical thing is that while it's one country, but there are different bodies and different kind of license which one has to procure. So as an optometrist, if I want to work in Dubai, I need to pass an exam which is by Dubai Health Authority. And once I clear that exam, then I am given the license, which is again renewable on a yearly or in some cases 2 yearly basis. However, if I want to practice in Abu Dhabi, which is just next door, I need to have a hard license. So license, of course, varies, but the crux is that any optometrist who wants to practice in stores as a clinician, he can do that. And he also has the scope to rise in the corporate as at various business positions. That's in short about what it is in UAE. And one thing which I would like to mention is that as an optometrist, if you are working in an optical shop, then it is important that your optical dispensing skills are quite good. Because if they are not as sharp, then you might take some time to adapt to the situation here. And in an optical shop, an optometrist primarily does refraction and contact lenses and bit of diagnostics, which is there. And when I say within refraction also, at least in UAE and some parts of, and some countries like Oman, Qatar, and so on and so forth, even Bahrain, you cannot do a cycloplegic refraction of a child less than 14 years. So that's the limitation. So you cannot, if you are into pediatrics, then you, ophthalmology, then you may not really want that in an optical setup. But yes, if you are working in an ophthalmic setup, then you can practically do all the kind of diagnostics which you do in India or in any part of the developed country. Over to you, Paula. That's all from my side.
Okay, all right. We'll come back to you, sir. Yes, Lakshmi ma'am, you want to add something?
I just want to say that there have been questions that are coming on Facebook. After we finish here, I'll take one by one question that's actually been posted. So I just want the people who are listening to us on Facebook to be a bit patient, so that once the session, we finish the couple of rounds of questions, we'll take up all the, couple of rounds of discussions, we'll take up all the questions. And I just wanted to make a comment to what Neeraj said in terms of corporate interest. I think that is very important. And I also like to say that we've been encouraging colleges to actually look at that aspect, and so that they sensitize all the students towards that aspect as well. Because Absolutely. Even when they go on to private practice, it is a business, right? Which you are you have to kind of climb the ladder in terms of establishing your own practice and business. So the business aspect is a bit neglected, I would say, when you look at the educational part of it. But we're trying to tell all the colleges to kind of look into that by having practitioners come and talk, or people from chains to come and talk, and so and so. But definitely compared to, when you were here, Neeraj, and now, I think there's a lot of difference, a lot of youngsters looking into corporate, careers as well, in terms of doing their MBAs, and then after they finish their optometry and getting on to that. So I just wanted to comment on that. That's about it.
Thanks. Just wanted to add, when I was a student, in my third year, I got this quote in Times of India. There used to be this graffiti, and I read there, it said, if you want to succeed as an optometrist, you got to have an eye for business. So that stuck with me for so many years.
Very true. Yes. Over to you, Paula.
Yes. So I would like Kanyaka Di to add now your experience in Bahrain.
Thank you, Paula. Actually, what sir has covered almost everything. Actually, when I went back in 2007, there is I also was interested in corporate. So when I shifted there, it was like a different scenario. The optometrist is not only a part of the clinic, he was part of the dispensing unit also. So it's like a team. So it has the opportunity to grow a lot, which I saw there. It's like not only optometrist, if you have the eye for business, as sir mentioned, you can just grow up the ladder. You can even reach to professional services manager, and the step will go on. And yes, there is limitations in the practice. We used to do a refraction, a thorough refraction, and then contact lenses. And yes, if you work in the hospital side of it, apart from the retail, you are allowed to do a cycloplegic refraction, but under the surveillance of an ophthalmologist. But if you, I was a part of retail, so in the retail, we are not allowed to do any cycloplegic refractions. But yes, we do have to do, and the main part is you have to finish with the patient till the dispensing is done, like the measurements and everything. And of course, if you have the dispensing skills, then you can, along with the technical skills, it's a great combo to grow in Middle East, as far as my experience is concerned.
Okay, great.
Over to you.
Yes. So, so now we have covered academics, we have covered corporate. I would like to come to Tanuja ma'am. Ma'am has a huge, I was just going through her when we, like, I have been asking for profiles from everybody. Ma'am has sent a huge profile with huge experience. So she is currently into her own practice in Botswana, which is really, I mean, it's a different kind of experience. I think that, all of us should listen that how she came to this, position, and she does a lot of community work also. So we as an organization, as an optometry driven organization, we are also trying to sensitize all the students, even private practitioners, to be, to indulge more into community work. So Tanuja ma'am, if you can add to your experience, how you, kind of achieved this, and how you're helping the community over and large. So over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Paula, and also Lakshmi for the lovely introduction. It makes me throw back myself way into 1988 when I met Lakshmi as one of my seniors on the corridors of Elite School of Optometry, Shankar Nethralaya. And I was asking her for the direction for the office. She was one of the senior who pointed out to the office, and that's where I got my forms. And from there, I met her some years before in Mumbai as the chief coordinator for IICL India. And then virtually meeting now as the head of OCI. I really appreciate the initiative taken by Optometry Council of India, by you two leaders there, this initiative, because the body, a professional body, is a governing body which is important to help us set up the standard of practice, curriculum, and eventually in the interest of the public as well as the profession. For those who don't know what Botswana is all about, I would like to shortly say that it's a small peaceful country with 2.2 million population, landlocked by other African countries like Zambia, Zimbabwe, Namibia, and also South Africa in the southern hemisphere part of the African continent. But it's one of the greatest and strongest exporter of diamonds, which we all love. Diamonds are forever. And let's take all of us back to a little history of how optometry profession evolved. It started off as a non-health profession much years before, and then developed into dispensing optics as well as refracting optics, refractionist as a refraction optics, not optometrist. And that time, nobody considered it as a health profession, but as optics. Now, dispensing opticians were allowed to dispense glasses based on the prescription given by ophthalmologists, while the refracting optometrists were allowed to do that as well as diagnose eye diseases. And then with development, when the act was passed in 1901 at Minnesota, America, that's when optometry became a health profession. Because we diagnose diseases, we fit contact lenses. And still those years where we were considered as a drugless profession until 1971. I remember this date particularly because it's my year of birth, when drugs were allowed to be used by optometrists as diagnostics. 7 years from then, it was used as therapeutic drugs. In Botswana scenario, what we have is we are strictly governed by the Botswana Health Profession Council. Similarly, the other neighboring countries of Africa have their own council, and we all come under the African Council of Optometry. We link to this council. We become a member of this council, which is further linked with the World Council of Optometry. So generally, we follow the standards of definitions of optometry from World Council and the competency standards. We have various cadre, but the council includes ophthalmologists, optometrists, opticians, and ophthalmic nurses as eye care service providers. Now, when it comes to ophthalmologists, I would say we were created actually by ophthalmologists to reduce the burden of blindness, and we should be thankful to them. And I would like to thank Dr. S.S. Badrinath for what I am here today. I don't want to tell my milestone of optometry profession, but rather talk about the standard of practice. So back to ophthalmologists, today is considered as World Ophthalmologist Day, earmarked as the day of birth of one of the senior ophthalmologists from Russia, I believe. I can't pronounce his name though. And in Botswana, we have ophthalmologists, opticians, optometrists, as well as ophthalmic nurses. Ophthalmic nurses just assist with the surgery and run the OPD at government hospitals. Optometrists are employed at government hospitals as well as be as a private practitioner. When it comes to opticians, They were initially 3-year diploma holders, mostly from India. We have local optometrists. All of them have done the 4-year program. We don't have an optometry college in Botswana, but they are sent to other countries and they come back with a proper 4-year program. In Indian scenario, we have 3-year diploma programs also then, those days. And those optometrists who applied, those 3-year diploma holders who applied, are now considered as opticians. So it's the council which has become very strict about it and have outfaced the opticians. But the old ones can exist under the grandfather clause, though they have been outfaced. Newcomers are not allowed in, though 4-year degree holders are allowed in to practice. Initially, we write an exam, both theory and practical, especially for foreign optometrists. And it has English related questions. To check the language and communication. They twist the questions in such a way that it might be you'll get confused with the answers, whether you need to tick a yes or a no. And then once you do the theory, you do the practical exam. From practical exam, you are given a health card, which is the health professions card. And that is when we are allowed to start practicing optometry. You can open your own practice after being 5 years in the country. That's when the Ministry of Health comes in to give you the certificate for practicing, as well as the Health Council monitors you to be a practitioner of good conduct also. Currently, we are doing CPDs. It has become mandatory for optometrists to do CPDs, and we are working on the CPD programs like different lectures. It's in the primitive stages, but we'll get into a strong CPD point system because the Health Council has made it mandatory. I believe OCI also does give CPD points. I've seen they are linked with various associations in India where they give points to people so that we professionals, we continuously update ourselves. So in short, I would say overall, without a body, our standard practice cannot be approached. A curriculum cannot be maintained. So it's important. And we are continuously as professionals protected by this council, I would say. Over to you, Paula.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I would lastly come to Leo. Yeah. So Leo, you have completed your master's. You went to UK.
Yeah.
So, and then you are back to India practicing. Yes. So please share your journey, how you applied and then what exams you had to pass on, and then how was your full-time, because you said that you are a full-time master's student there.
Yeah.
So how was it? Was it through theory? What kind of research you did to gain your master's degree?
Yeah, it is a clinical ophthalmology master's. Optometrists, even ophthalmologists, both can study together. It is a very good course. See, after finishing my degree, I was practicing here in India for quite a long time. Actually, I wanted to study in US or Australia, but I couldn't. And one of the elite school optometry students studied over there. She guided me to apply for a Glasgow Caledonian University. Glasgow University is different. Glasgow Caledonian University is different. And as far as the master's course is concerned, to apply in UK, the registration for any council optometry body is a must. To study in UG course in UK, that is all a different thing. That is different. That is a centralized application. The centralized body will choose you according to your marks. That is different. But when you are going to study in UK for the masters, you need so many things. 4 years degree, and you need any body registration. See, I have applied for Manchester University and this Glasgow Caledonian University. For both the university, I got admission. And I would like to make a point. I have to write a SOP, statement of purpose, and I writing would begin like this. I am an optometrist registered with Optometry Council of India. This is how all my documents would begin. There are so many things like, my practice, my experience, so many things. But the very first thing is, I'm an optometrist registered with Optometry Council of India. That had a lot of weightage. So as soon as they see the Optometry Council of registration, In UK, we have GOC, General Optometry Council. See, whether you study optometry or ophthalmology, whatever it may be, to practice in UK, you need a GOC license. In my class, I had ophthalmologists from Libya, ophthalmologists from Iraq, and ophthalmologists from Moldova. Even if you finish, you cannot practice. You will be nothing without license. To get a license of GOC, you have to practice in hospital or in private practice. It will take another 2 years. But once you get a GOC license, you would be on par with ophthalmologists. In UK, for example, if you undergo a cataract surgery, you see the ophthalmologist only on the operation theater. Very next day, if you go, you have to meet only optometrists, not ophthalmologists. So the basic thing in your private practices, you should have this, not only the cycloplegic, the fundus camera is the basic thing for the private practice. Without fundus camera, you cannot practice over there. So that is all different thing from India and other country. You would be on par with ophthalmologist if you get this license. And for my, this getting the admission and the scholarship, the OCI registration played a big role. So as soon as they see this, you registered with Optometric Council of India, and that sounds good, like council, like a medical council, general GOC council. That sounds good. I got admission for, as I told you, Glasgow Colorado University as well as Manchester University. Manchester University is quite high, like Indian rupees, some 20 lakhs, but that is affordable. Glasgow Colorado University, some 12 lakhs. And as well as I applied for a scholarship, the local government, Scotland government. For 2018, I was the only one selected for the this Salté scholarship. That is a very famous, prestigious scholarship, Salté scholarship. Throughout the India, I am the only one selected as an optometrist for that particular year, 2018. So they see so many criteria, your experience in UK, so many things. And as I told you earlier, since I registered with OCI, that added a big weightage. So I would recommend all the young optometrists to register with any optometry body. And particularly, I insist to register with that. Even if you registered with your state body or other body, I insist to register with OCI. Since in any country, if they see Optometric Council of India, that council sounds very good, and that is Optometric Council of India means our own country, they think it is an Indian body. So I recommend everyone. And the second thing, when you give a prescription, you are putting a seal and signing. And without seal, it doesn't look nice. It doesn't have any value. When you put a seal and you give the Optometric Council of India registration number, and that in my people will think like it is on par with a government doctor seal. And number two, if you don't have any registration, it is like a letter. You are posting a letter. You have letter. You have covered everything. But without any council registration, it is like without address. It won't move anywhere. So it is the council registration is giving an address to you. It is a recognition to you. So whether you apply for a university or a private practice, you go for a registration with any body, any optometry body, but I insist with OCI. And wherever whichever university you apply in UK, first they see, as I told you, the registration with the council body. Then they see everything. So any student who apply for UK university, I insist to register with the OCI. And if you apply for this scholarship also, they will see the registration. So I insist the students. And you want me to add with any job opportunity in UK, Paula?
Yes. If you can, and can you please also elaborate more about the scholarship? Like, how can students apply? Where did you, get this information about scholarship?
Yeah, I would recommend all the students who are going for UK, they have to write the IELTS exam. So for writing IELTS exam, I recommend, I advise, I insist all the people to study with this British Council. It will improve our English. It will improve our, knowledge, writing, everything altogether. There are people who are writing IELTS directly, but I advise to study with this British Council. It's a very 2-month, 3 month course, right? If you once you go to British Council, they would give you a pamphlet. It have so many scholarship things. For example, when I apply for the university, there is a particular scholarship called Chevening Scholarship. That is a UK government scholarship. It is not Scotland. It's not Northern Ireland, Wales. It is a UK government scholarship. It covers up to 15 to 16 lakhs for 1 year. So I told you there an ophthalmologist from Iraq. She got an Chevening scholarship. My own relative from Chennai, he got a Chevening scholarship. It is usually the Chevening scholarship the IAS, IPS officer would get. And really, if you are eligible, you would get the Chevening scholarship. I would recommend to apply for a Chevening scholarship. For that, you should have some social service background. I worked with IBA when Vinod Daniel started it way back in 2010. I worked for, I think, 1 year. So Vinod Daniel gave me an letter. So those things, as someone told me, Dheeraj told me, optometry practice is a business is must. And I tell you, all the optometrists, you take some social work, anything, whether it is a flood season or this screening, everything that will add more thing when you apply for a scholarship. So make an underline. See, this is very easy. You can do a screening for in the school. You can go for the camp in the village side. Whenever there is a flood, I have my own team in Kadalur. We spend 1 lakh, 2 lakh, and we procure, the eatables. We go and distribute those things. There is a sense of satisfaction as well as it will give an weightage when we apply for the scholarship. Very important thing. Every day in practice we are seeing this common people. So you have a more conversation. So you have a more avenue to help those people. And social service is very, very important for an optometrist other than your practice. And,
yeah, so that is what we are trying to sensitize, because community participation is very
community
important.
Optometrist is very, very important.
Lakshmi ma'am?
Yeah.
Yes.
I just had a few comments and also questions to Vinod and the others as well, as we are kind of, having less time as well. So one comment is, it's very, what Leo says is right, that you have to have some kind of additional, either an internship with some corporate or community service or some kind of a thing when you apply outside India, so that it adds value. That is number one.
Exactly.
And just going back to Vinod, when in your academic career, Vinod, then after that you did your therapeutics and applied for your license and stuff. So what's the importance of membership with a professional body? That's number one. Number two is Manshul has asked on Facebook as to, what's the process of applications and stuff for higher studies and what exams you have to write for Australian admissions. So the two questions to you, Vinod.
Firstly, the importance of getting registered with OCI. So, okay, I think I'll talk. Can you repeat the first question again? You're on mute, Lakshmi.
When you moved from your academic, like after your PhD and stuff, you did your therapeutics and applied for license, right? So during that transition thing, was OCI registration, did it play an important part in that kind of a process? And then the second question was about admissions.
Okay, so you need to get, if you want to get a registered optometrist, you need to submit some paperwork to a registration authority. This registration authority looks into all the paperwork and then gives you registration. And this is called AFRA, which is Australian Health Practitioner Regulation Agency, which is a government authority. And one of the documents that they'll ask is any registration with a country council. So it becomes important that you are registered with National Council. Obviously, I already registered by then with the OCI, and then I procured my documents, And the document that they ask you is for how long you have been membership certificate, and also they'll ask you good standing certificate as well. So I got these 2 documents and then submitted for registration. So that's for limited registration. I'll talk about what the limited registration is about. Once that is over, then you will be getting your limited registration for you to teaching or being in research. Now, the question about how to get into practice, optometry council exams and all, it's similar to other countries, whether it is US or UK. You need to have you need to qualify for you to be able to practice here. So Indian qualifications are not sufficient for you to be able to practice in Australia. So you should first attempt competency exams, which are conducted by OCANS, which is Optometry Council of Australia and New Zealand. It's quite a tedious process. Actually, I thought this is more tedious, but I've heard the other day that UK is even much tedious in terms of paperwork. So, but I thought Australia is pretty straightforward, though it is tedious. So the information of the exam can be found in the ocans.org website. You can simply type in OCANS and then that will pop up. OCANS is a competency examination conductor, basically, if I were to put it that way. So you submit all your documents, and the document that they ask is a lot in terms of how many hours you spend in practical classes, how many hours of lectures you attended, what entirely your curriculum is like. And once that is done, and then you submit your documents, they look into your curriculum, and firstly, they'll say whether you're actually eligible to sit for the exam or not. Only if they say that you're eligible to sit for the exam, then only you can proceed further. So what they're basically looking at whether you have covered all the areas of optometry or not, and you have given sufficient time in terms of practicals. So once they have seen this, there's something called Form 6, I believe. And once you fill up all these documents, they will look into this one. And if they're satisfied with that one, they will ask you to sit for the exam. The exam has 2 major parts. One is the theory part and the other is the practical part. The theory part is 2 days. One is about 150 multiple choice questions, 3-hour exam, and the second day again short answer and essay type of exam. So what you pass that exam. Once that's passed, then you go to the next stage of the exam. That stage of exam is more practical. So again, the practical part is split into 2. One is a skills assessment, the other is patient examination. The skills assessment, you will be examined for 16 different skills in optometry, and there are 8 stations. You go one after the other, and then you will be conducting a certain task or clinical task. Once you finish that one, then if you pass that one, then they'll let you to do the final stage of the exam, which is to examine 4 different patients. So there are 4 different random patients. So you do not know what their background is, or you don't know anything about it. So they are actually real patients, whereas in the skill station, they are mostly students from university. So in the final stage, there will be real patients. You have to do a complete examination, including management, in 70 minutes. So, and that's, if you pass that one, then you enter into, if you qualify that one, then you will get the competency clearance certificate, and that you need to submit to the registration body, which is AFRITE, I mentioned before. So they will look into this, and then you can get a limited registration. Limited registration is for you to practice under a supervised optometry supervisor, but it will not let you practice independently still, because the new rule is that you have to clear the therapeutics exam. So that I think it came into 2010, and ever since, any overseas qualified optometrist, even if you finished your exams, you're still not qualified, depending on which country you come from. Obviously, if you're coming from India, because therapeutics is not very strong, so they'll ask you to definitely do a therapeutics course, which is about a year. And you finish that 1 year of therapeutics, and then you submit that you have finished this one as well, and then they will give you the full registration. Then you will be able to practice in full extent. I think that's the path to get registered as an optometrist in Australia. And I can ask you, I can talk about it the whole day, but I'll leave it at that. And then if any questions that come, and I can answer them.
There's one more question for you, Amitava. Basically, they are asking how important is the GRE score? So that's one aspect. The other aspect that I just wanted to ask you, Amitava, is when you look at NECO and other universities in Boston, you do have the bridge course. So people who have passed the 4-year graduation can do the 2-year bridge course and then get the OD, right? If I'm right. So there is that process also to get into practice. So if you're doing that, does a professional body membership, does it actually carry value if you're going that path? So first is a GRE question and the other one is this.
Yeah, so GRE scores are very important, but one have to understand it's a complete package of your application. It's not just one score that a school is or a college is assessing for your admission. So you also need to have good grades in your optometry courses. First of all, to begin with, I would say, then a good GRE score, and of course, a decent English language course as well. And also, most of the school will ask for a statement of purpose. And I think that's also, it's an essay that you write. It's usually 1 to 2 page long. And that's also very essential that you put your vision or your experience and why you are motivated to do research. Let's say some people, know what kind of research they want to do and they apply for a specific lab or to a specific investigator. But in some cases, you will get admitted if you are not even sure about what exact kind of research you want to do. And, because of the lack of research background, but motivation always, if you can show that you are keen and motivated to be a researcher, you will still get admissions. Like in my case, I had very little experience doing research in India. So I wasn't really sure about what kind of research I want to do. So I just expressed my interest that I am interested to do research in my statement of purpose. And many colleges will actually let you do rotations in different labs for a semester, right? And then you can figure out, is that something that you are interested in? And sometimes these rotation are mandatory. I mean, irrespective of whether you have already decided what you want to do, you still mandatory have to do these rotations. So during that rotation, you would be able to figure out, what is your interest. So it's coming back to the original question. So GRE is not, it's one of the important points, but it's not the only point. So don't hang up too much on the GRE, but of course, try to get, prepare well and get a good score on GRE. So coming to the second point, as Lakshmi mentioned, so there is, to the best of my knowledge, only one university, which is called New England College of Optometry, is the one who allows kind of a bridging course. So here, what is important for us to understand is that the OD program or Doctor in Optometry program in America or USA is a graduate level program. It's not an undergrad program. So to get into an OD program, you first need to complete 4 years of undergraduate or bachelorette, courses, and with relevant, topics like physics, natural science, chemistry, etc., to qualify for a OD program. The course that was particularly mentioned here is sort of a short, concise course. So in that course, usually I have seen that people from optometry background from other countries apply for it. I think it's about 27 or 28-month course. And here, of course, it's important to show that you have professional experiences and you are registered with a professional body in your own country, so that your application becomes much more stronger in that scenario. So that demonstrates that you are successful as an optometrist in your own country, and now you want to apply for to become a registered or licensed practitioner optometrist in America. The reason that you have to go through this entire more than 2 years, which is the shortest span, is because in USA, if you are to practice, you need 2 important things. First of all is that the graduate program or the college that you are passing out is part of the, or is accredited by the ACOE, which is the Accreditation Council of Optometric Education. So that's the reason that you have to go through some years of schooling. Either it can be a complete 4-year degree program or a concise program like the NICO that Lakshmi is mentioning. And the second aspect, what is also important, is that licenses, optometry is a state mandated profession here. So the license requirement varies from each individual state. But one thing is common, is that first and foremost, you need to pass the National Board of Examinations, which you do during your coursework as an optometrist during the coursework, either in the 4th year, or in case of the NICO, it will be during whenever you are qualified to do that. After you qualify for the basic National Board exams, each state has its own necessary exams, which is necessary for you to pass to practice in that specific state. Let's say for California, for example, you need to pass an ethics exam to be a practicing optometrist in California after you pass your national boards. So yes, of course, back to the original question, yes, it is, particularly if you are interested in a shorter program or a condensed program, it is very, very important to demonstrate that you have been successfully practicing as an optometrist back in your own country, and you are registered to a professional body which mandates a specific standard in your country to practice optometry. So of course, I would encourage, if you're planning to apply for the condensed programs, definitely. Canada also have a bridging course, which is a little bit different than the NICO program. And I believe it is also essential, if you're applying to the Canadian bridging course, that you registered with the OCI.
Thank you, Amitabh. And I just would also like to thank Sharanya. She is an optometrist who's heading Achyuta College of Optometry, and she has UK education background as well. So she's been answering some of the questions on Facebook regarding UK. So I just wanted to thank Sharanya for stepping in and answering a few questions. One question that's come up is regarding some
I think there's a connectivity issue again. Okay, so I would like to ask this question. The optometrist is saying that there is one Hopkins hospital in Canada and USA, which he found on Facebook, and they are asking for some money and then for getting the job, without even seeing the CV. So what would be your recommendation?
Is that question for me? This is Amitabh here.
It's mentioned in Canada and US. So Amitabh, Dr. Amitabh, you can just.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's very difficult. I mean, I have seen this kind of ads, but as I said, I don't know what kind of job they're offering, right? I mean, that's very important to know. Because as I said, practicing is definitely, you cannot just come over from an overseas as an overseas optometrist and practice in US. So if it's an optometry practicing job, I think there is something going on. You need to investigate more into that. If it's other kind of job, as a research staff or something like that, it is possible, but there is another hurdle called visa. So it's kind of difficult, unless the easiest visa to get into US right now is a student visa, I would say. Rest of all the visas, the work visa, it's a stuff, and there is only one point of time in the year that you can apply, and you apply in April, you can start working only in October. So you need to understand these criticalities, and not just get casual by advertisement like this. You need to dig in deeper to better understand what they are offering, and and how feasible that is. I'll leave it to there.
Thank you very much. And similar kind of we as an organization, we also get sometimes employers connecting with us saying that we need optometrists. So according to all of your experiences, what do you feel that we being a professional body, what background check should we do, or how shall we question them in a diplomatic way so that they are more transparent to us before we even ask our members to apply or something like that? Some lights maybe. Neeraj sir, I would like to hear from you.
Thanks, Paula. The suggestion which I would have for the professional body like OCI, if in case they receive a request for an optometrist, especially understand whether it's coming from an optical setup or ophthalmic setup. If it's as I understand, in Middle East, most of the job profiles requirements are for optical setups than for ophthalmic, because here I do see a tendency of big hospitals going in for ODs who come straight away from US, Canada, and the developed countries where where optometry is more developed. When it comes to the optical setup, one of the things which I have realized is that your dispensing skills, optical dispensing skills, of course, I'm assuming that the refraction would be good, but the optical dispensing skills should be of high quality. So if in case you get a requirement like that, and is there a process or a way to identify and or possibly check the dispensing skills of the candidate, it will be a great help, because many a times we do get candidates who are from good optical setups back in India, but when they actually land up, we realize that the optical skills requires further refinement, and that can be that time can be condensed if they are already been assessed, or there is a stamp in a sense which comes from OCI stating that these people are good in dispensing skills. Thank you. I think that's the main criteria which we would look forward to. Other than that, okay, it's almost fine.
Coming back to Tanuja ma'am, ma'am, you do a lot of community work, being a private practitioner there. So I would just like to know how, was there any hurdle you faced while you wanted to, establish your practice as a private practitioner, and how do you do the community work over there?
I would say I love that question, though I didn't revolve around community optometry. It was always my passion to do service or give back to the community while practicing. I would say if you have the passion, there is no hurdle. Hurdle in any place. Out here in Botswana, they welcome you when you do a lot of community service. It improves on your marketing here. We are not allowed to do direct marketing, so it becomes an indirect marketing also. Apart from the soul satisfaction which you get and which is your passion, and you also get to, I believe community optometry is not about doing eye cams. I would not like to I would like to have it outfaced. We should do exactly what we do in the clinic at community service, probably with not all the equipments possible, but with minimum list of equipments, and try to diagnose and refer. Cataract being the leading cause of blindness, you will find a lot of cases of cataract, a lot of corneal blindness due to allergies. You will be able to pick up and advise. Apart from accessibility, I would say awareness is very much lacking in most of the parts of the world. So it also creates awareness. You speak about your own profession, you introduce yourself during the meetings. Before you start doing community service, there would be always a gathering. In Botswana, we meet the village heads or the chiefs and work with the community workers, social workers, health workers. So they also are made to be aware of the profession, that we are optometrists, we are different from other profession, and also about what you can do to the community and prevent blindness. Our main aim is to not only treat, but also prevent the blindness at much earlier stage. You will pick up a lot of cases of lazy eye, and later on bring them back for follow-ups and vision therapy. Screening is not enough, identification is not enough, follow-up is a must, I would say. So it depends. There is no barrier for doing community service. I would call it as a super specialty of all the specialties.
Thanks, Tanuja. I mean, you just spoke whatever I had in mind, because when we always talk here, I always tell private practitioners, young private practitioners, they come and ask, how do you how do you compete with the others? Do you have to give leaflets? I always say, go and do community work, and that is the biggest marketing for you, because word of mouth just spreads like anything. And I totally agree regarding, camps, which is just a one-time this thing where you go, just screen and then, find out these cases and kind of not really follow up after that. So I think a comprehensive eye exam, as you're saying, if you look at a previous Zoom that we did 2 weeks ago, it was all regarding that. How optometric colleges are engaged now with comprehensive eye exams, and how they're adopting government schools and things like that. So that way, I think young optometrists are also sensitized towards community service and public health as a career as well. So can't agree more with you, Tanuja, on that. So even
in fact, the private practice license, I applied for a place which is closer to the border, or an area which was least serviced. So service was offered. So the license itself, the private practice itself, is located at the junction between the main city and the village. That way we are serving that part of the community.
So that's a hint to all the youngsters, where when they look at locations rather than big cities, when they diversify into maybe tier 2 or tier 3 towns and areas, maybe they can grow better actually, because the service is needed more. Like in business terms, if I have to talk, per patient spending might be less, but the volume is much more. So you kind of overall, profit amounts to the same as what you would make in a big city with huge rents and overheads that you're paying. And then you move down to smaller towns where the volume of patients you'll be seeing is much more. Although the single ticket item might be slightly less, but the overall profit might be similar to what you gain from a city as well. So that's great information.
Eye for the business and the heart to serve.
Yes, I have business and the heart to serve.
Yes.
Can't put better than that. I think we've exceeded our time. Thanks a lot to all of you, and especially Amitava, such early morning timings. And it looks like you have a huge fan following, Amitava. All the Bengalis are writing, great to see you on Facebook. And Paula being one of them. Yes. So thanks
and
to
Kanakya
all.
Also.
Yes.
Yeah. Finally, I would like to add one thing.
Yes.
You go to UK, once you finish master's or undergraduate degree, they will give you only 4-month extension. Once after the degree, you will have a 4-month extension. You can apply for PhD or some other job. If you don't get anything, you have to come out of UK. From this year's onward, 2020, UK government is giving extension 2 years.
2 years, that's right. 2 years.
So
yes.
Once you finish your course, they will be giving another 2 years to stay over there. So the student they are applying for this year onward, they are really lucky. I would like to note that point.
Yeah. That's a very good, valid point. Yes, I did read about it in the papers as well, that they are giving a 2 years extension in terms of work and stuff.
Yeah.
So lovely to have all of you. And this, just for the people who are already there in Facebook, this video will be available in case you want to share with all your friends and young students and all of them. So, and if they're educators, you can, ask your students to view this in case they need more information. And thanks to Kanayaka, Vinod, Neeraj, Tanuja, Leo, and Amitava. Different time zones. Somehow, me and Paula were thinking when we had to put this together, what's the time, that where we can reach all of you, and it wouldn't be a hindrance to all of you as well. So we really, I think, made it. So thank you. Thanks, Kanayaka. Your dad definitely will be very, very proud of you. I'm sure
Thank
whenever
you, ma'am.
he'll be very proud of you, Kanayaka. Happy to see you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, ma'am, to share my experience.
Thank you. Thanks, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Stay
Thank you
healthy
very
wherever
much
you are. So stay safe and healthy. That seems to be the mantra nowadays. And hopefully all of us will meet sometime. Oh, Panuja, that's so nice. All of us will meet rather than virtually. Hopefully we can travel. Sometime will come. I'm sure that we will all meet sometime soon.
Definitely.
Yes, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you for the opportunity, Lakshmi and OCI, Paula. You've been fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you, Vinod.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
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 Bye.